Happy Tuesday, guys. Brooke and Laura here today with Legal Talk Tuesday. Today we are going to talk about kids. We haven't talked about kids or family stuff in a little bit. Specifically today, we're going to talk about custody. So we are often contacted by fathers asking about their rights to their children. Sometimes it's not really clear. The law is not always really clear because it's more of a subjective thing. It's something that is kind of case by case. So it's not always clear cut, and what is going to happen in one case or what happened in one case might not necessarily be what happens in your case. And so we know that the relationship between parents and children is really important to the child's well-being, so long as that's a healthy relationship. So here in Arkansas, the legal default is that both parents are equally fit to have custody of their child unless it's proven otherwise for whatever reason. We are very aware and very much recognize that it does not always play out that way and always happen the way that it should. And we know that that's really frustrating for whatever parent falls on, the wrong side of that. More often than not, unfortunately, that's fathers. So the truth is that a heated custody battle is not really good for your kids or good for you, good for your ex, and there's not a winner. There's no winner here. So today we just kind of wanted to give you 7 ways that you can improve your custody case as a single father, and in turn that's going to reduce the conflict between yourself and your child's mother. So the first thing we're going to talk about is making all child support payments. Sometimes fathers get frustrated and they say, well, I'm not able to see the child, or the mom's not necessarily doing what they're supposed to. And that's frustrating. We understand that. And they should be doing those things. But just because they're not doing what they were ordered to do doesn't mean that you can't do that you can stop doing what you were ordered to do. So there are legal remedies for that, legal ways you can go about handling that. So you can't expect to be granted custody of your children if you haven't been paying child support regularly. So if you don't want to pay, if you don't agree with the order, whatever reason that you're not paying, a judge is going to look at your financial ability to take care of them when considering custody. Also, a lot of times people fall into this, which is good because it's an amicable situation with mom where you're getting along, but it's kind of an informal child support arrangement with mom, where, maybe, okay, well, I'll pay you $100 cash every other week or whatever that you've made. You may not have even gone to court at the time to figure out what that payment arrangement is going to be. But you do, regardless of whether you have an order or don't have an order, keep receipts for everything that you do. I do not advise paying in cash. I would do something that you could keep up with, like a check. Like a check. Or, paying through the child support clearinghouse, whatever, some way to keep up with it, because you're going to need those receipts if it's ever contested, if there's ever an argument or dispute about it. So that's going to provide evidence to back up your argument. And in the event that you're actually struggling to make your regular payments, sometimes that happens. Sometimes you get laid off, or your job changes, your income changes, your situation changes. You can actually request a modification to your original custody and support agreement. So that's going to allow you to keep up with those payments and pay on time. So you're going to want to make sure that you pursue that instead of just not paying or modifying it yourself.
Exactly. Number 2 is to develop a strong relationship with your child or your children. Your relationship with your kid or kids is a huge factor in a custody case. So if you want to make sure that you have those rights and that you're getting, the word fair doesn't always exist in the legal world like it does in your brain, but as long, to make sure that you're getting the best that you can with your relationship with your child, then make sure that you build a strong and fatherly relationship with your child. Be as involved with their life as you can possibly be. So that could mean a lot of different things. Obviously, when you have custody, make sure that you're doing fun activities and that you're not, just the fun dad, that you're also providing discipline and things like that. But make sure that you're engaged with your child. If, call them. If you have them, let's say every other weekend, for example, that's a typical kind of not joint custody. visitation arrangement. So if you have them every other weekend, maybe one night a week, if on those days that you don't see your child, make sure to call, talk to the kid. If the kid is old enough, talk to them about their day. How did it go? Check in with your co-parent to see, how daycare was, whatever it might be. But as long as they're old enough, you want to maintain that relationship with them, and don't just see them every 2 weeks, because that's not really showing that you have a strong relationship with your child. If the mother is cooperative with it, then make sure that you arrange to visit the child regularly. So if you don't already have that agreement in place with the court system, then, my tip number one on that is get it. Because if a father is not declared the father by a judge and you weren't married to the mother when the kid was born, then technically you don't have paternity. You don't have rights as a father until a judge says so. So if you don't have one of those visitation child support arrangements, like legally, like Brooke mentioned, then make sure that you think about doing that. But also, don't miss out on your visitations. Don't cancel at the last minute, those types of things. Make sure that you see your child as much as you can. Number 3 is always attend school events and special occasions. We all know, I say we all know, I don't, as you guys know, because you've heard me talk about it before, I don't have kids, but I'm an aunt to a lot of different friends' kids. And there are always activities that you can go to, whether it's school, like kindergarten graduations, or, soccer practices and games, dance recitals, whatever it might be. Make sure that you are going to those events. This is really important because your child doesn't want to feel stranded on a day when a dad is expected to come to school, for example. Maybe it's a Father's Day lunch at school or something like that. I don't know why I used Father's Day in air quotes, but it did.
It's a real thing, Laura.
So make sure that you are active and participate in those events so that your child sees that you want to be involved. And that, again, just builds that relationship and shows everybody else, too, that you want to have that relationship with your child. If you participate in school, religious activities, whatever it is that your child is involved in, that provides proof of that continuous relationship. So like Brooke was talking about with receipts and things like that, you can't really say that you want to see your son, for example, if you have missed every single school event for the past year, and then say, oh no, she's just blocking me, or whatever it might be. You have to try to foster that relationship. And I know that there are situations that can be really, I don't want to use the word contentious, but I'm going to use it, so, where the parents don't necessarily agree with things. But as long as there's not any kind of violence or anything like that that's in place or that's happening, then you have the right to go to the school and attend a play or whatever it might be. So keep that in mind and try never to miss a birthday, whether it's a call, a card, whatever it might be. Don't miss school plays or sports activities. The court will see, if you end up going to court, the court will see that your steady commitment to your child is evidence of your readiness and responsibility to actually parent your child with with the mother.
Right.
I think we may have lost Brooke, and so I'm going to continue talking about this just in case you guys can still hear me. But have a plan. Number 4 is have a plan. You can't expect to get custody or change, to get more custody of your child without a solid plan on how to take care of him or her. The judge is going to ask questions, and you have to be able to explain to that judge well thought out, evidence-based kind of things like, here's what I've done, here's what I've put in place, I have insurance through my work, whatever it might be. They want to see, that judge wants to see, evidence of what you've decided to do in order to prepare to have more responsibility with your child. Number 5 is to prepare your home. You should have a suitable home to keep your child when custody is granted. And it's, sorry, I'm getting a text from Brooke. She went black, but I think I'm still on. So you should have, so back to number 5, prepare your home. Don't have a 1-bedroom apartment if you have 2 kids, because then you're all sleeping in the same place. I know that sometimes that, is the reality of what you can afford in rent, that kind of thing, but maybe spruce it up and have a sleeper sofa or something like that for your kids to stay in. But make sure that you have a safe and comfortable place for keeping your child when you have those visitations or when you have your custody of your kid. Don't let the excuse of a small living space deter you from preparing that comfortable living space. So like I mentioned about the 1-bedroom apartment, make sure that it's still suitable for having your child with you, whether there's, a space in the corner for playtime or whatever it might be. Take pictures and that kind of thing, because the court was definitely going to ask you about your living environment and how you've prepared that for your child before they, before they'll consider modifying or giving you visitation or more custody arrangements. Number 6 is maintain a record. So that's a huge, important thing. I don't know about you guys, but I watch a lot of court in the morning, court TV shows. And if I work from home and I like watching court TV shows, it's kind of funny and fascinating to me. But when I see things that people walk into court all the time and they say, well, this and this, Your Honor, and they have zero proof of what they're saying. And so a judge can't really talk to you and pay attention to what you're saying if you don't have any proof of it. Just saying to somebody, yeah, this is, I visited him last week or whatever it might be. So, you don't have to make it methodical and crazy, but make a log of, when you visit and when you call, and like Brooke said about receipts, your financial provisions that you, any kind of financial things that you provide for your child. You can also develop a parenting plan. That's a technical term. That's the legal term for a parenting plan. If you can agree with your co-parent, the mother of your child, then you guys can agree on visitation schedule, who's going to pay for what, who's responsible for X, Y, and Z. And you can give that to the court and say, hey, judge, here's what we've thought about. But, the judge is the one who ultimately says, yes, that sounds good. If you're not agreeing on things, if you're not in as good of a relationship with the mother and you're going to court to get more visitation, you can develop that parenting plan yourself and say, be fair about it. Don't be like, I get full custody because she doesn't like me. But, come up with something reasonable and take that to the court and say, hey, judge, here's a parenting plan that I would like to see, and see if you guys can come to some kind of agreement on that, or the judge will provide feedback on that. Number 7 is look at alternatives to court. So if you are talking about court or thinking about court, court is necessary in order to have a judge say that you are the father if you weren't married to the mother when your child was born. But technically, there's no reason for a court to be involved in anything else except for signing documents that are required in order to make sure that there's some kind of parenting plan and child support and that kind of thing in place. So if you and your co-parent, the mother of your child or children, if you're not agreeing on things, look for alternatives other than fighting it out in court, either by yourselves or with attorneys, because that is not a good solution to any problem. And you'll hear things from us occasionally about how most cases settle before they actually go to trial. That includes family law cases and things related to paternity and custody and child support. When you can agree on things beforehand, then really all a judge needs to do is read through it and say, yeah, that looks good, or no, I don't like X and Y, so change those. So there are other options besides just hiring a lawyer and fighting it out in court. There are, because otherwise the judge is the one who says, here's what you need to do. And might not really care about you, because the judge's interest is the child. What's in the best interest of the child? They don't care that the mom said, X, Y, and Z about you in your marriage. They just care about who's, taking care of the child and everything. So there are things called mediation. That's a good alternative and a way that helps parents be in a win-win situation. Mediation is having a person basically in the room with you, either online or in person, who can help you guys communicate and come to some kind of agreement. A lot of times, especially if you're mad at the other person, you're not really hearing what they're saying. So the mediator will help you guys communicate and kind of translate for for you and your co-parent so that you guys are on the same page when it comes to what is in the best interest of the child. Another option is something called collaborative divorce, which we do have attorneys here in Arkansas who provide collaborative divorce options. So keep that in mind as well. Collaborative divorce, again, it's just the goal is not to get to a point where a judge has to tell you what to do with your child. It's where you guys can agree together what to do with your child because you know what's in the best interest. So that's 7 tips on making sure that you have a good relationship with your child and presenting that to some higher legal authority if that is necessary, whether that be a judge, a mediator, whatever it might be. So tip number 1, make all child support payments. Number 2, develop a strong relationship. Number 3, always attend school events and special occasions. Number 4, have a plan in place for what you're going to do with your child when you have them. Number 5 is prepare your home to be a comfortable and safe space for your child. Number 6 is maintain records of what you do for your child. Number 7 is seek alternative resolutions to agreeing on visitation, custody, child support so that you don't have a judge telling you what to do. So thank you guys so much for joining us today. I'm sorry that Brooke's face is blank at this point, but we appreciate you joining us, and you'll be able to see her beautiful face next week. So we'll be back on Tuesday at 11:30 a.m. and it will be Brooke who is talking on her own, subject to be decided later. And we appreciate your time and hope that you have a great day on this Tuesday. Thanks so much.